Just old. Honestly, it's kind of, as you get older, it's a decision you can't help but think about. You know, you start this racing deal and you really never know how it's going to end. You always hope it's on your own terms, and I feel very fortunate that I was able to end it on my own terms and kind of make a decision about when it's going to stop and not be forced out, which I've seen happen where unfortunately sometimes it's injury or just not performing well enough or financially or whatever the reason is. It's very rare that you can kind of say, well, I'm stopping racing after that race and then I'm going to move on to this, and it all works out very smoothly. So I feel very blessed and very lucky for the opportunities I've had moving out of racing to be able to do it the way I wanted to. You know, I enjoyed what I did. There was parts of it, I guess, just like any job that weren't ideal, but I felt very lucky because I wasn't the best amateur racer in the world. I didn't win tons and tons of titles, and to be able to have career longevity was something I prided myself in, because I felt like I kind of had to adapt to new techniques, and all these younger kids kept coming up, and you had to kind of reinvent yourself to be able to compete with these guys and eventually try to beat them for those qualifying positions. So it wasn't something that I set out when I started, like, oh, I'm going to race pro for 17 years. You know, it just kind of happened, and you wake up one day and it's been 8 years. And I remember that day at the end of, I think it was the end of 2004. I was like, I've been racing for 8 years at this level, and then you wake up and it's been 12. You know, and it's like a blink of an eye. So it's not something that you really plan on, but I couldn't have asked for, you know, a better way to spend the past 17 years, that's for sure. It's a funny question. I don't really have an answer. I guess at the end of 1998, I'd heard a rumor about some guys that they were going to race in Germany in the off season, and I didn't really know how I wanted to do it or how I needed to get involved or who I had to talk to, but I knew I wanted to go, and I was just like, man, that's such a cool thing to be able to race a dirt bike, you know, for a living and go see all these cool places. And I was really always into history and geography and stuff in school, and so I just asked everybody I knew. If I heard somebody that had went to a race somewhere and I knew them at all, I'd say, hey, who'd you talk to? How'd you pull that off? And you just build connections. And as I got better and my name grew, and when I would approach people about it, they're like, oh yeah, I've heard of you. Yeah, let's work something out. Let's do it. And then that turned into, I started winning races overseas, and then they start calling you. You don't even have to approach anybody anymore. And then kind of that leverage swings a little bit, and you say, okay, you know, maybe I'll come, but you're gonna have to pay me this, and you have to provide this. And of course, deep inside, I'm like, yeah, I really want to go, but you kind of have to play it cool a little bit to kind of get the deal you want. So yeah, I think when it's all said and done, I've probably raced more overseas than anybody I can think of. You know, I think I'm up to like 29 countries as far as what I've raced in, and it's definitely a point of pride for me is parts of the world that I know my parents and nobody I know have ever seen, and I've actually, not only got to go there, but I got to race a dirt bike there and sometimes win. So definitely cool. And it was 100% on me. I could have sat at home and never raced outside of good old USA ever in my life, and nobody would have ever said a word to me. But I saw an opportunity not only to make a lot of money, and it didn't start out as that. It started out as I wanted to see these places, and then that turned into, man, you can really make a lot of money at this stuff if you get good at it. And that was a learning experience. I really struggled my first few times over there. It's a different world. It's a different kind of racing. And you have to be very adaptable to situations and different types. You know, you don't always have a brand new bike, and it's always, you know, it's cold and you're jet lagged and the food is bad and you can't understand what they're saying at riders meeting. And there's all these things that I take for granted now because I've done it hundreds of times. But when you first go over there, it's all new. And I watch these kids that come over now, even this year, really, really fast kids, they come over and they just struggle because they haven't learned to adapt to the situation. And that was me. That was me in 1998, 99. And it's just something, if they don't give up and they keep working at it, they will learn. And then they'll, you know, if they have the talent and ability, they'll start winning. You know, you hear this, I don't have any regrets, thrown around all the time. And I really don't. There's things you can look back at and say, probably made the wrong decision here, probably didn't do the right thing here. And there are things where I think I could have made wiser decisions. The main one I look back on, at the end of the 2000 season, I had a really good year. I was riding both classes in Supercross. I set the record for double class main events. I had all these things going for me. I went to Canada and raced the Canadian Nationals there, and was getting second, third, running up front all the time. And I had a lot of offers at the time. I ended up signing with Factory Husqvarna at the end of that year, and I don't want to make it sound like it was a negative, because those guys tried really hard, and it just didn't work. I didn't do well. I didn't feel like the bike was up to par. I wasn't up to par because my level of effort went down, just because I was not motivated. So that I had some really good opportunities that I turned down and went down that path, and I felt like that could have probably been a better decision. And I hate to put a negative connotation on that, because I had a lot of great memories from that year. I had a lot of fun and met some really great people. But that was probably one decision that I probably could take back. Yeah, there was two real highlights for me, and it's like two, kind of three. Montreal Supercross was a very important event for me. I'd done it, I think, 13 times. And I went there my first year, and I remember I got 9th, which doesn't sound bad, but I got my doors blown off. And then you look at how can I be better at this race? I want to do good at this race. It's important. There was 60,000 people there. There's a lot of money to be made. And I made it a priority moving forward every year. It was always a few weeks after the season ended, which is vacation time for most people. We've been racing for 9 months straight. Well, I said, hey, you know what? If I don't take time off here and I start riding Supercross, I can really make a difference. So Montreal 2005 and 2009, I won both times, and it was a huge goal for me, huge highlight. And then German Supercross Championship, very much the same way. I put a huge emphasis on it, monumental amounts of effort into it, and I was finally able to win the championship in 2009 as well. I felt like in my prime, I missed a few years where I should have won it because they did away with the points championship, but they brought it back that one year, and I said, hey, you know what? You're good enough. You're ready for this. Let's do it, and I was able to pull it off. So looking back, those are things that I really put my mind to and was able to come away with them. Well, I've been with WPS and Fly since 2003. There was a couple years there where I was on a team that didn't ride for them, but overall, I've never lost touch with them. I've been very involved with them, and they were always the kind of company that I wanted to be with. And the last couple of years, as I've been knowing retirement was coming, I've been kind of looking for opportunities and where am I going to fit in this industry. And I always kind of came back to WPS and Fly as the type of people I wanted to be with, and they had the atmosphere that I was looking for, and I knew how they viewed loyalty, and it was the same as I did, and I knew there was an opportunity to grow there. So we kind of been looking at how would we make that work? What was the best fit? Was it going to be a rep in Florida, or there was all these possibilities. Would I go to the races for Fly or do any of these things? And unfortunately, none of that was really happening. The openings weren't coming open, and possibilities, it just wasn't the right timing. And then Terry Baszler, who's above me, he's vice president of sales, but he also is kind of the man behind Fly, who started it. Called me and said, hey, I've got this position, we're going to create it. It would be perfect for you, but you have to move to Boise. But it's international position, it's travel, it's all these things that I know you love to do. Are you even open to moving to Boise, or should I not even think about it? And I'm like, you know what? Call me tomorrow. I need do some soul searching and really think about this. And I just came back to, yes, Boise wasn't my #1 destination of where to live, but having lived there, it's awesome. I will say that. But the position has just been more than I could have ever asked for. I was so lucky to move into a position that people would kill for, right out of the box. So I can't stress how lucky I am for that. I am international sales manager. That's what it tells me on my business card anyway. But day-to-day stuff, as a brand, we are trying to grow internationally to mirror how we've grown in the U.S. And our growth in the U.S. hasn't been overnight. It's been a very concerted effort by everyone that has to do with WPS to get the name Fly out there, and that's product development and marketing and promotion and educating our dealers on all of our products and our price points and all the things that make Fly great. So moving forward, we want to do that worldwide, and we have a great distribution network already. But with Terry Baisley's, he's VP of sales for all of WPS. So this was really his responsibility before. Unfortunately, with our hard drive and all these new products, new lines we're coming out with Sedona tires, he has to oversee all of that. So the attention to Fly International was severely lacking, and that's, there was a need for it. They knew they had to go that direction, and so that's basically where I come in. I talk to the distributors daily. I address their concerns. I go visit with them. I ride with their reps, visit their dealers. So it's a learning process for me and for them. Yes, and that's one of my kind of side programs I have going. I have a PR program for them every Saturday. It's called the BTO VIP Experience, and that's completely my deal with BTO and the BBMX team. So yeah, I'm at every Supercross and National running that for them on Saturdays. Kind of that high, if you want to say, or sense of satisfaction after you do really well. It's that rush of adrenaline where you succeed at all the hard work and everything you put in. But I found that you can have that in business as well, and it doesn't have to be a situation where you just risk your life to attain it. So I will miss that, and that was very important to me, was to find a position where I could still go to the races, because that's where my heart is, and I will always be a racer at heart. So being able to go to every Supercross and National is a huge bonus for me. But yeah, I think that most of the people that if they're actually a fan of me, they know I tried as hard as I possibly could every time, because I wasn't winning races, at least not in the U.S. anyway. I was one of those guys that at the end of the race, I was making passes, and that was where my effort was what really gave me a result. So I appreciate them, and now I've kind of moved into some of this media stuff, and that's where I've really met more fans than anything, because I have a platform for them to, social media has kind of given everybody a voice on that, and you kind of realize there were people paying attention when I got 12th or I got 9th or whatever I got. So I just want to say thanks, and I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be at the races and part of Fly Racing now, so if you see me, grab me. If I have a scowl on my face, I'm not mad. It's just probably thinking about something. So yeah, I'm around. I guess to be remembered by just that I was around for a long time, and I was able to keep adapting and stay relevant. And by relevant, I mean if you're in the main events, that's a pretty big accomplishment. And I think that gets lost on a lot of people, fan-wise, is how difficult it is to be in the main event every week. You're talking about the top 20 guys really in the world as far as Supercross, because a lot of those European guys aren't great at Supercross. So to be in that classification, really, where you're in the top 20 of any sport in the world, is I never thought I would be able to say that. So to be doing something for that long and that high of a level, and just be able to stick around and be a guy that people looked at and be like, man, you're still doing this at that level, that's impressive. That's really kind of what I'd like to be remembered by.